Welcome to another episode of Willow Woods. I'm Planko and Chill. Today we're going to be working on this little restaurant corner in the back of the park, just off to the side actually, it's to the left. And here's like a little preview of it. It's a great little eatery thing, but man, the work to get here was nothing short of absolutely crazy. There was so much I had to do to get to this point, but you can see the aesthetic we're going for here, kind of wood and the black metal and some red and some splashes of color, and it's right behind this great roller coaster, which I still haven't shown you guys much information about. You might have seen it one or two shots, but let's get into this a little bit here. Welcome to Willow Woods. If you're new here, subscribe. This is my ongoing series currently, and one that you can play along with. When I go into any new area, like any kind of place where I'm going to do some kind of building, I work first on the landscaping, and that for me is a really important and key part. Because the landscaping is going to kind of set the tone. It's the canvas, you know, the canvas that the entire thing rests on. That might sound corny and a little bit diluted and a little bit full of itself, but it's true. So I do some ground paint, I put down some rocks, and add a little bit of foliage here and there. And of course I've built this great, park wall at the back. And I always follow the Iron Matty rule with ground paint, where you do it where places where guests were going to compress it. So here's like a cinematic view, and of course from two different shots. Look at that great shot right there. So I brought over my build pieces that I'm using in the world, and then I worked on smoothing out the pathway here, getting the details in the pathing. So there's some cohesion, and then of course I moved some trees around. And then I began adding in blanks, and I just put these in for the spacing, kind of so I can gauge where I'm at with the process. Now this is sped up, I think 4x from the original footage speed, and it's something to consider just how difficult it is to plop a shop down, X out of it, start over, pull the menu back, pull the next shop in this series out. And the thing is, you've got to remember which shop you already put down, because I kind of want to get a variety of the food. And what I want to do is actually build 3 areas of shop food in 3 different parts of the park, and then interspersed bathrooms. Then of course here I'm going to work on, I want a foundation to a grid to start, and then add these build units that I have on hand that are kind of the cohesive design of the park. And I realized pretty quick I wasn't going to have the stone foundation portion sticking out like in a lot of my other builds. But I also wanted a formulaic thing, because though all the shops are going to be slightly different, I want them to all cohesively work together within the same park, the same aesthetic. Here you can see me just putting in the little touches here and there. And then I shift over to where I'm actually like situating it on the build. And the thing is, I like to start out building on the world grid and then move it into position, just so I don't get those weird angles where you're shifting stuff at a funky angle. And then I just adapt the pieces as they are onto the structure that exists. And you can see here that it's the the restaurant core. And I'm not totally satisfied with the scale on that door on the front of the building, but we're gonna go with it for right now. I think it is just a smidge short. It's not completely short, and it makes sense to like in-game peep size, but they're like right at the height of the door. It's a rather small door for as ornate as it is. And then of course, there's the sidewalls. I go back and forth on the whole thing with the windows, and you're going to see in a bit here that I get rid of them. That's one of the problems I was facing early on, was keeping things interesting across multiple copy and pastes. Because one thing to think of here, and it's a big thing, is the piece count is slowly creeping up with each of these builds. This is a lot of pieces that are involved in these walls. Because life is short, I'm not going to have you just sit through all that wall building, but I got there in the end. Now I just need to add a corner piece, something of interest. I really debated long, thought long and hard about it, really did, and then I moved on to the iron beam because it just happened to lay at an angle you know, into the build, and I'm like, ooh, that looks really good. So I think you'll agree it was a good choice. Now, regrettably, I don't have the base plate showing, but I think that overall you're not going to notice that when you look at the build overall, you know, the end result. Now, if you guys don't know me for sure, you know, if this is like your first time at the channel, thanks so much for dropping by the video. It really helps if you make sure you hit a like on the video and comment. Comments help me understand, you know, where your thoughts are on the build, things you like, things you dislike. You know, whatever you want to write in the comments, as long as you're not super rude, I mean, I allow it. I mean, I'm not the type that's going to, you know, delete a bunch of comments. I've only deleted a handful of really negative comments over the time I've had this channel. But yeah, so share your thoughts. I love to hear from you just to see how you think of things. But this roof, I'm going to tell you right now, it's another issue that I have to resolve. I hate the way it looks. And you can see me get several angles of like, does it look good this way? Does it look good that way? No, it doesn't. And I think what I was trying to do here was like reconcile it by getting rid of the windows, which they needed to go anyway. But then I used finally one of these concrete statue things to gauge. You know, these are really good to use. Everybody says to use these. I'm telling you guys, use them. They help you gauge the size of a peep in comparison to your build. The same with a staff member, you know, is going to be roughly the same size. And then of course, you know, that door was now gone. I didn't feel as bad about it. It's time to put in something there though. So I thought long and hard about this. I started out with this coffee cup, and then I was like playing with the idea of, well, what if I put a decal in this window? What a shooting star over this? And all that looks cool. It really does. I think it looks neat. But then I saw just a glimmer of what I wanted, and it was that little sign. And I was like, oh, this looks good. And of course, a writable sign on here. And you're going to see there's going to be room for lettering on the roof. So I'll be able to do lettering on the roof in a bit. But it's going to completely resolve the issue I have overall with this build. So looking at it, I was like, nope, this roof absolutely has to go. And I wanted a flat roof. And of course, you know, it was going to have the trim running around the edge of it. And, you know, that's a whole thing as well. But yeah, I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going with a flat roof. But I could not pick down what I wanted as far as a flat roof. And then, boom, there it was. I really feel like I hit the right spot. I had to do a lot of adjustments, so I'm going to jump over that part to where the roof is all installed to get rid of the Z fighting. So then, of course, comes time for the trim. And yeah, you can see some incorrectly aligned edges throughout the roof. They disappear with the trim. It's something you're never going to notice unless you're really studying the build hard. But let's be honest, unless I get this park spotlighted by somebody and they're super picky, they're never going to notice that. But I also have to go with something that is really easy for me to reproduce, because I'm going to have to do this over and over and over again. And I just wanted to take you guys along just maybe for this first one, because I'm really going to have to spend some dedicated hours in the game just grinding away at all these shops, because I want them to look good. And that's going to involve pretty much building them from scratch each time. So it is a process. And it's a big process, and that's for sure. So, I mean, here it is. I think that overall, you know, it has good street value. It has good curb appeal, as they say. It looks great, you know, on the approach. The pathway here wasn't exactly to my liking, so I decided to work on that a bit and kind of stretch it off into that corner, make it more interesting. And of course, some tweaking and all that stuff later with the foliage. And then I put the railing back because I was like, let's keep guests out of the danger zone over here and put some benches down. That was a big one too. Put some benches down, get some guest seating going on over here. And I'll be honest, backing up here a bit, I noticed immediately. I was like, yeah, this plaza looks like crap. It really does. It's too broad. It's too expansive right underneath the coaster right there. And for all these shops to be placed along there, it needs to be a little more interesting. So that we move on to my favorite trick right now, which this is going to get solved in the next update, but basically you put down like a staff path, right? and then you just round it and everything, and then delete it, and it leaves you this nice, pleasant cutout in the center. They're gonna have a traceable delete tool that's coming in the next update, so it's gonna be a really welcome thing in my opinion, at least for me. And I had a nice surprise, it dropped another coaster support, so that's one less I have to custom support. And then, adding in of all the things like these rocks and the bushes and the trees, and I think a willow tree would be more appropriate here as well, like just one more. And then adding in more lamps, and the area just starts to come to life. And the evening vibe of this area is just great. You're gonna see that shot coming up here real soon, is this nice evening vibe. And then one of the last little things was to shrink down this bush. And I mean, I was in love with this section. And with all these shops put in soon, it's gonna be really cool back here. It's gonna be really nice, I'm gonna love it. So here's a great evening shot of this area, this nice vibe, this ambient atmosphere, and that ride on the left totally sounds like a chainsaw, and I might do something with that in an upcoming build. But here you can see a great shot of this single rail coaster diving into its tunnel underneath the ground. POVs of that and the wooden one are coming, trust me, those are coming soon. But yeah, this is just, it's a great shop. It just, look at the vibe. Look at this vibe. This park is coming along fantastic. If you want to play along, come to the Discord, request contest permissions. Like request the rank for contests. And we'll walk you right through how to get the map. You have to use the map code that we use. And then you build a park surrounding, it's Willow Grove. It's just like the Planet Coaster 1 version, but it's Planet Coaster 2. So this time it's Lucas Willow. But yeah, there's a great promo of it. I'm going to put up on the end screen here. But in the next episode, we're going to get into naming the wooden coaster. There's a little hint of the name right there on the ground. And then, of course, this whole area over here is going to get some work done. So thank you very much for watching once again. And on the screen right now, you're going to see the first episode of this series as well as the promo that was done. So I encourage you to check those out.